Hey everybody, it's Jimmy King with WrestleLaunch here, and it is your Thursday afternoon, even though I'm technically recording this in the morning, Dynamite review. That's right, it's WrestleMania week. Even though AEW has absolutely nothing to do with WrestleMania, they are a wrestling company in the same week as WrestleMania, and as a lot of people know, WrestleMania is a huge week for professional wrestling. It is the Super Bowl weekend of professional wrestling. A lot of promotions, and when I say a lot of promotions, like I'm not even just pretending here. I'm talking about a grand majority of the American professional wrestling indies. Doesn't matter even in America. There's other promotions that have other stuff to do with wrestling. They know that this weekend is a huge weekend for professional wrestling, a huge week in general. So a lot of professional companies are currently running shows and have stuff going on. AEW, naturally, with a weekly running TV show, two of them, they are going to have stuff going on. And since we just had Dynasty just this past Sunday, we are also going to have the fallout of Dynasty and everything that happened. So we are going to get right along with it. Now, just to give you guys a quick reminder, if you haven't seen the show, there are spoilers that are going to come up on this. I really shouldn't have to tell you because it literally says a review of the show. So if you're coming here before watching the show, what are you doing? So, that being said, we are going to move on and just remind everybody that at Dynasty, MJF retained his title against Kenny Omega. So, the show itself starts off because we all are aware that Darby Allin earned himself an opportunity at the world title by beating Andrade. So, as the show begins, we see Renee talking about how no one has been able to reach MJF and nobody has been able to let him know that Darby is asking for his shot at the title on that night's Dynamite in Everett, which is I don't necessarily know if it's an actual suburb specifically of Seattle, but it is in the realm of Seattle, so they're calling it Seattle even though it is in Everett. We do see MJF roll up to the arena, and as he gets out, we see Renee attempting to let him know about his upcoming match, which originally is scheduled for the very first match of the evening between MJF and Darby, and naturally MJF, doing as MJF does, starts going on his tirade about how he has kicked out of the One-Winged Angel and all this other stuff, how he beat Kenny Omega, and then eventually Don Callis comes up to let him know that he is apologizing for failing. And as MJF figures out Don Callis and Andrade have failed, that is when they finally find out from Renee that MJF's match against Darby Allin for the AEW World Championship is right now. So they do go to the ring. Darby does make his entrance, and as he comes down, MJF storms to the ring saying something along the lines of, "We're not doing this." They have more mic issues. That's like the one thing that plagues AEW is their audio issues. It drives me up a wall as a fan. I get it. Tech issues are a thing, but man, they have them a lot. MJF tells Darby he's not ready to be the champion. Darby eventually grabs the mic, and it actually kind of looks like he's working up to cry. He does start crying, and he says all it takes is one night to drop the world on its head, and Darby literally begins to ugly cry and giving this huge promo about how it doesn't matter, he's ready, he started wrestling 10 miles up the road, this whole thing, and then Bryan Danielson stands up, and he says that he's got a message from Tony Khan, and he says that he agrees with MJF, which gives everybody the reaction that we all probably assume. MJF has convinced Tony Khan to change the match to the main event to give MJF time to prepare. And, as a special caveat, if MJF refuses to defend the title, he will be stripped of the title. So after all of that, we then see backstage Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, which is, it's got a little thing that says it took place after Dynasty, because you can see they're both in the trainer's office or training room after their matches. They basically talk about how Kenny's starting to doubting himself and how he doesn't have a lot of time left, and Will encourages him with the heart of a wrestler that he has. He's got to be the man that he is, and it's this whole thing. And I think at this point, because they're leading into WrestleMania weekend in WWE, AEW is just trying to get everybody to cry. You got Darby Allin ugly crying before his match. You got Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega making you go, man, like my favorites are starting to get older. It sucked. But it's good at the same time. It was a great segment. It makes you really understand that Kenny is probably getting to a point where he's starting to understand that he is not the main event guy that he used to be. So he either has to figure out a way to become a new main event guy, figure out a new role, or just go backstage. Our first match of the evening does come out, and we do have Tommaso Ciampa versus Desmond Xavier. Honestly, dude, I don't know a lot about Desmond Xavier. Personally, when it comes to Tommaso Ciampa, I am a fan of Ciampa, But I have not been able to really enjoy his work for the last 15, 20 years or so because of the fact that at one point in time I stepped away from watching professional wrestling, and then he was in the WWE, and I just don't really watch them. There's sometimes I'll see clips come up, but I don't go out of my way to watch. I'm a fan of Ciampa. I have been a fan of Ciampa. I've liked Ciampa since he had hair. Like, the guy is amazing. He can still go. This match, though, I'm going to say actually hits Dez with this knee, man. Like, I have a clip over here. I've changed it to a GIF so I don't get in trouble. But he fucking hits Dez so hard with that knee. He literally skins his knee. His knee starts to get blood as he, goes to the... Whoo. Wow. Like, you guys are going to have to watch that match. It's not one of those, crazy back and forth. It's not a long match. But Dez does a good job selling. Ciampa gives him a lot of, moments for his offense. He does a lot of dives and shows why he's actually a fantastic wrestler. I believe, was he Wes Lee? Was his name in NXT? I'll have to have somebody in the comments let me know. I can't remember what his name was in NXT. I didn't watch. But I know him as Dez because he was in TNA. And then, obviously, he did those crossover things with Rascals and all this other stuff. I know the guy can fly. I know he's a fantastic wrestler. The kid can wrestle. Just holy moly. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the Rascals do. I like all of the guys in the Rascals. I actually like Trey Miguel as well. It makes me kind of sad that he didn't get to stay in AEW because of other stuff that other people did. There's a lot of weirdness when it comes to that, but we're not going to get to that. We are going to move on, though, because I'm reminded that Collision is going to be airing tonight, Thursday, so again, I'm going to have a double night where I have Impact and Collision to watch. I get why they're doing that. They're not going to run Collision opposite of WrestleMania. That's smart. It just sucks for my timing. Again, though, Ciampa gets a hell of a knee strike. He gets back in control. Excalibur calls him Sagat from Street Fighter because of the scar over his eye. I think I knew what he was doing there. After he does get the win, he does grab the mic and basically tells him and the rest of the crowd that Dez was an example. He says that he wants next week the main event winner. Then he kicks the shit out of Dez. We see another video package about the history between Darby and MJF. A lot of people are reminded that back in 2022, and then I think another time after that, MJF went on this whole tirade about how he's a better wrestler and that he can beat Darby with a headlock takeover, and does at Full Gear in 2022, which I was at, so I got to see that, and that was very interesting to see. So there's a huge video package that kind of gives everybody a little bit of a backstory between these two. They've gone up between each other a lot in their history. It's not just in AEW. They've done a lot of tag matches and a few other stuff in the indies too. So these guys have a huge history. They are considered two of the four pillars of AEW, which is interesting to me because the one pillar is just gone. They don't talk about him. He's in ROH. But we then see FTR in the ring with Stokely Hathaway. They talk about everything that's coming up. I'm actually pretty happy that they got the win. They basically say that as long as they are champions, Cope and Cage are not going to ever get an opportunity at the championships again. And then they end the promo with one of my favorite Edge and Christian moments from back in the day. They decided to up the ante. It is now the 10-second pose. So you see Dax, Cash, and Stokely pose in the ring for 10 seconds, just like Edge and Christian used to do back in WWE. I'm looking forward to seeing this because obviously the Cope and Christian versus FTR saga is not done. So obviously there's still something going on there. And we also do have some up-and-coming tag team stuff coming. So we move right along and we come back from the commercial, and it's a TNT Championship match, and it's going to be Kevin Knight versus Claudio Castagnoli. Now, remember what I said about tag team things coming up. This match, holy shit. I'm really a fan of the way the AEW has been doing some stuff here and there, because every once in a while during certain intros, mostly the Death Riders, I've noticed, Renee Paquette is out doing a little ringside report type of thing, and almost every single time that she does that, it'll be Claudio Castagnoli standing on the ring barrier, and they actually have a picture of her looking up at him as he's standing on the ring area, the ring barrier. I love it. I love this thing. I don't know. It's a different thing than I'm used to seeing in wrestling. They used to do something similar like that back in the day, back in the 90s, so they're doing it again. I like it. I like just little random things that make it just feel different. That's a personal favorite of mine. When it comes down to it, though, Claudio and Kevin Knight, they go back and forth. Claudio's another one that even though he's been in wrestling for as long as he has, he can still go. The man is a tank. He's a beast. He's an absolute fucking machine. He's a monster. You put all the different adjectives that you want to put in front of him, the guy can go. Period. He's a trainer. He's been a champion. He's been going all up and down in CMLL for a while. He's actually been feuding a lot with Hechicero. He actually just lost his title to Hechicero in CMLL. So there's a lot going on there. There is this turnbuckle spot that just makes me... I used to hate turnbuckle spots just because of, like, there's a lot of variables that can go wrong. And the window of that stuff going wrong is very, very small for, being okay. There's even a spot where he like gets pushed off the turnbuckle and like Claudio comes diving in with a European uppercut. That was pretty neat. It looked a little clunky, but it was still pretty cool. Jet does get the win. Kevin Knight does get the win. And he cuts a promo after hinting about Jet 2 belts because of the tag team and trios belts that are still out there, even though he did just lose them. One thing I want to point out is since Speedball watched Kevin Knight win the TNT title, and they have done this a few times where they have had a little bit of a between them. I don't necessarily want to say that they're going to split up, but I'd like to see what they're going to do there because I want to see them be a little bit smarter, I guess. Because I don't want to see it just be a simple Jet Speed breakup, but at the same time, I want to see some story. Mike Bailey is a good heel. Most people don't realize it because they've never seen it, but I want to see it. I'd love to see it. We go on to commercial, and when we come back, we see Jericho, and about this point, I hear that Sponge has made it to the show, so our very own Sponge has decided that because he lives in that area, he has made the trip, so he is in the arena because he wants to see that main event. He wants to see that happen. So as Jericho is in the ring, I actually get a picture of the back of Jericho right before they come back from commercial, so that's how I knew that Jericho's going to be in the ring. I like this jacket, actually. It's kind of neat. The red looking, it was almost like lace red, but it's cool. The Demand come out to bother Jericho naturally because they're still going between he and I, and Ricochet ended up beating Jericho at Dynasty with what he is now calling the Rico Salt. There it is, because he beat him with the Lion Salt. Eventually, at one point in time, Jericho does convince Ricochet to come down by himself without the Demand, or without Gates of Agony, but of course Gates of Agony, they come in. Jericho, during this promo though, he starts like a new Austin Powers thing, so Simon Miller even mentioned it in his ups and downs, and I mentioned it in my notes. I have it written down right here. And once the Gates of Agony get into the ring, of course, they make quick work of Jericho. There is yet another Rico Salt, and then we end up seeing Will Ospreay go up against Hechicero after that. Tony Schiavone and I agree that Don Callis said something about Super Nintendo with Hechicero, and I even saw on the AEW Twitter page they said the same thing. So Don Callis' Spanish is a little messy. I personally don't know very much Spanish, but I know that Super Nintendo is not part of Spanish. I know a good amount, I'll admit, but like not enough to tell you that Super Nintendo has anything to do with it. The story of this match, though, and has continually been the story since he came back, was Will Ospreay's neck. He manages a one-armed Styles Clash while Hechicero has him in like a armbar, and literally one of the coolest things I've seen. I don't even know how the fuck he managed to pull that off because he's pulling him up, but like I said, the majority of this match, Hechicero's after his neck and his arm. Will does get the win here, and of course Don Callis is on commentary, and he says that this is now Plan B. And of course, everybody on commentary is asking what Plan B is, and then we see Mark Davis in the room literally whooping the shit out of his former friend, and they're talking about on commentary how he lived with them and all this other stuff. And when you know somebody, I'm going to tell you real honestly, when you know somebody really well in professional wrestling, and they know you really well, those are some exponential matches. You're going to see some of the best work that those two ever did. They're going to sell for each other. They're going to bump like mad for each other. I look forward to seeing that when it comes out. We have a video playing now that says Willow Nightingale will face Camille tonight for the TBS title. And then directly after that, we have Tekla in the crowd. I enjoy the crowd promos. I really do. I don't know what it is about her being in the crowd, talking to people from the crowd, but I genuinely like it. She talks about dumb bitches and this and that and whatever, and it's actually, it gives me a good pop. She makes me pop. At one point in time, Alex Windsor comes out, and one of the first things that Tekla says is, "Oh, wow, I say the words dumb bitches and you appear." I laughed. Probably harder than I should have, but I laughed. So we actually find out that it will be Alex Windsor versus Tekla. I can't remember if it's Collision or if it's Dynamite, but that's coming up here within the next week, or tonight. It's probably tonight. It's more likely tonight. We come back again, and Mox is talking about Will Ospreay because at the time Marina was in the crowd during Will Ospreay's match, and he kind of gives her she comes back and gives a little bit of a status report on Will. Kind of a interesting thing since I'm not entirely too sure what they're trying to do with Mox. He's not really a face. He's not really a heel. He's kind of just this dude that's there that's got a bunch of people with him. I like it, but I'm confused by it. But they also announced that it's going to be Nick Wayne versus Mox on Collision tonight. You see Willow Nightingale have a match against Camille with, oh my God, it just was amazing. There was some jumps that had Camille showing off that the reason that she is the Brick House. She's phenomenal athlete herself. She really took it to Willow, and it kind of gave her a few moments there where it almost looked like Willow might not actually win, but Willow does get the win with the backslide. And almost immediately we have Hikaru Shida and Statlander come up backstage, and I'm just going to say Shida's acting a little odd, a little heelish. I think something's going to happen there. They are going to be teaming up, she and Statlander. Again, they just teamed up again this past Saturday, and they're going to be teaming up yet again tonight. So I want to keep an eye on that because Shida acting the way she does not make me feel very comfortable. But it is now finally time for our main event. It is Darby Allin versus MJF. And now the one thing I want to point out is that we are starting this match, about 10 minutes to 9 o'clock, which means that at most times AEW is done around 9, 9:05, 9:10, somewhere in there. So that should give you a good idea as to what's about to happen. We do have a good long standoff. The crowd is just, they're into it. They're just staring at each other, MJF and Darby. They're just letting the crowd really get to it. We ring the bell, and MJF tells everybody to stop, and he willingly hands over his ring to Aubrey, which is funny. She gives a physical reaction to the fact, like, oh, this was in your pants. Well, he hands it off to Aubrey, and Aubrey goes to walk over and hand it to the ringside people. MJF kicks Darby in the nets. Just boom, right in the nuts. He goes for a headlock takeover, and Darby pushes him off. Aubrey gets in the way a little bit, and as Aubrey gets in the way, since she's not able to see, Darby then hits MJF in the nuts, and then a scorpion death drop, and then a coffin drop, and then another coffin drop, and then another coffin drop, and then a fourth coffin drop. And then we see not only 4 coffin drops, but a headlock takeover, and Darby Allin is your new AEW World Champion. That is right. I even called it down to the headlock. That's right. I'm just gonna fix my hair. He's gonna pop my collar. But that being said, AEW just pulled the trigger on something that is going to open them up to one of 2 doorways. And in that doorway, they can go. And that's usually the way that a lot of these things go. You have a hallway and you have 2 doors. You can go one direction or the other direction. And when it comes to Darby Allin being the world champion, that does give them a lot of options, because now you can start building a whole new main event scene. You can start building up a whole new bunch of main eventers because these other people now have an opportunity. Personally, I'd like to see it be Brody King. That man, he is on fire right now, especially with the chants that were ringing out last night, because we all hate cubes of frozen water. Now, at the end of the day, what I would say is that it can go one of 2 ways. Am I completely sold by AEW taking Darby Allin and being the champion? Not completely. I will be honest. When it comes down to it, you need to have a professional wrestler be the world champion that can do everything. And Darby, he can do everything, but he's also a little bit on a different edge. So he is the type of wrestler that needs to make himself the title, not the title make him. So that is where I'm a little bit wary. I hope he will do it. I have a great anticipation of the fact that he is going to be able to do it, because he has been mentored by Sting, and there's so many people that are behind him. But they have an opportunity here to do a lot of stuff that this could be a culminating moment for AEW. They could go and do great things, or they could just say to hell with it and at Double or Nothing give it right back to MJF, or give it to Kenny, or do something like that. The thing with Darby is that he is universally liked, and at the end of the day, I don't necessarily know if he's a face or a heel, because even if he were to go face, people probably wouldn't buy it. It'd be similar to like when John Cena went heel. Nobody bought it, at least the new version, because back in the day, obviously he was a heel. But the new Cena, when he came back to get 17, nobody bought it. Everybody thought it was dumb. So at the end of the day, if Darby were to do the same thing, probably it would be the same type of reaction in theory. But ultimately, they can still do something fun, and I really hope that they do something fun. This show, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Do I like the fact that Darby is a champion? Not necessarily. I like MJF as a champion. At the same time, not every single championship run needs to be months and months and months and months. But at the same time, some of these runs need to make sense. And Darby beating MJF here, though he beat him with a headlock takeover, which is something that has been storied between he and MJF for a while now, that is also setting him up for now he has to prove himself because he is going to have a lot of people coming after him. He's got Tommaso Ciampa next week. Andrade, I guarantee, is going to want a shot. Kenny Omega is eventually going to want a shot. MJF, when he comes back, I'm assuming he's doing some type of movie or something, or I don't know. He's got to take time off from what I'm being told. So when he comes back, he's going to want a shot. And you got all these other guys that are going to want shots too, because I guarantee Brody's going to want a shot because he's been up and down there with Darby too. Even Nick Wayne. Nick Wayne is going to probably pop up and around too because they were trained by Buddy Wayne, Nick's father. So there's going to be something that comes up, and I look forward to it. AEW did good here. I want to say, though, that this has been something that's been planned for a while. They didn't just pull the trigger on this because it was WrestleMania week. I guarantee that it probably had something to do with the decision, but at the end of the day, they didn't necessarily want to take the buzz away. They just wanted to keep the buzz. So they had Dynasty just happen this weekend, so obviously they had their pay-per-view happen the weekend before WrestleMania for a good reason. They're doing Collision tonight instead of Saturday, which is night one of WrestleMania for a good reason. And they have just now pulled the trigger on not only a World Trios run for the conglomeration. We've got Kevin Knight as the TNT champion, which is a great backup from Kyle Fletcher. We've got Darby Allin as the new world champion. We're doing good. I think we're doing good. AEW is definitely starting to kind of get their spot. Not saying they don't falter, they do. But everybody does. Every company is going to fail to a degree. It's how they learn from that failure that defines whether or not they're actually going to do something. So I look forward to it. All of my stuff is coming up. My throat hurts because I got a cold. If you guys couldn't tell or hear it. But I'm getting out of here. I appreciate you guys watching this. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know, and let us know what you think about the show last night. I have been Jimmy King with WrestleLaunch. Make sure you keep an eye on the channel because we are posting stuff all the time. I'm Jimmy King with WrestleLaunch. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, I got some simple rules when it comes to this stuff. Stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, and above all else, just love professional wrestling. You guys have a great day.